Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. So it's been 3 years since I've done my last Ableton template video, and Ableton Live 12 has just been released, and there is a lot of things that change and that can really improve your workflow. So today I'm gonna make a video on how I set up my Ableton. So let's jump into Ableton. So here we have Ableton Live 12. So you can see this is my default template basically, and on my previous one I had a lot of track with kick, bass, hats, like all pre-made track, which I thought was a great idea, but the reality is that things change with time and always evolve, and so it was good at that time, but now I felt like I'd rather start with a blank canvas, so that's why I don't have that many tracks. But the idea now, especially with Live 12 and the new browser feature, the idea is to have a blank canvas, but to set Live in a way that around you have all what you need at your fingertips. And today I'm gonna show you how I set it up that. So what I mean, for example, is that before I had, like, for example, track for a 909 or 808. Here I made a shortcut with drum kits where I will have straight up the 909, 808, and I have even some extra percussion if I need. For example, I had like track with my hardware preset, but now I set up in a different way in the collection mode, and here I can just, for example, drag and drop these files, and I have already my Udo Super 6 desktop sent, which is right here next to me, and it's already set. You can see I have my external instrument already set with the right direction, with the right audio from. There is this new CC control that allowed you to even do like some mapping, so I can even control the filter of my Super 6 just with this macro or the push tree. And you can see, for example, I want a sequencer. I just have a section here, sequencer, with all of my favorite sequencer. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how to set up that, but first we're gonna go in Live Preference. We're gonna begin by the beginning. I never really actually talk about these preferences, but I think it's important. We're gonna just go over the main things I found important. So here I zoom a little bit. This is really depend of the size of your screen, and because here I'm recording, I zoom a little bit more so you can see better. One thing that was disturbing me when I opened Live, it was not the scroll bar down here, so it was by default, I think, when scrolling. And this is great if you have a Mac and a trackpad, but if you are like me, I don't have trackpad, it's better to put as always, so this way it's appearing here when you have mini track and you can move. There is these things as well, hide label. I prefer to hide them, but for example here you have track delay that doesn't appear, and there is a lot of things that if you're used to Live you don't really need, and it's just kind of clutter everything. That's pretty much it for here. Now theme and color, this is something a lot of you ask. I use the classic medium dark, and with the grid light density 68. So this is basically on the arrangement view. I put 68%, that's what I found it the best for me, and then brightness 95%, 100%, and color hue 205. So if you want a skin color like similar to mine, you can go with this value. I like this one because it's dark but not too dark neither. It's like in between dark and bright mode. Then you can put like default track color. Every time I put a new track, it's gonna be this color because I just like this color. And yeah, you can clip color. It can be all the time random or like the color of the tracks, so that's pretty handy. Now audio, here I'm on Mac, so I use the core audio, and I have the Fireface UFX3. One thing I really recommend is to take the time, if you have many input and output, to kind of set them and rename them the proper way. This allows me to save time. I have, for example, my input 1 and 2 are the rewire. 3 and 4 is gonna be my Super 6 cent, and then 5 I have the defam. I have nothing on 6, but yeah, then I have all rename everything. Same for the output. You see I have some CV going out because my sound card got DC coupled output, so I can send CV to control anything from my modular. I also have 2 main output, 2 headphone output, and here is for my multi-clock, which is gonna sync everything, and here it's 2 pedal effect I have that I can send signal to. So this is pretty handy because after then when you're in Ableton you know where it's what, and you don't struggle to find out which signal to send where, and etc. Then the send per rate, I keep 44.1 kilohertz. High quality buffer size, this also depends of your computer sound card. 128 sample is great for me, and then the rest I don't touch anything else. I had the link toggle because I don't really use any link device. Usually you have something coming here in the corner, you see, up, just again to declutter things that you don't really need. Same with the tempo follow. This is something I never use, so I don't put it. And this is something new, a racing button, so I decided to show. So this is great if you have hardware who have like internal sequencer or any hardware, I guess. And when you click on it, it's just kind of send a signal to reclock and resync. Everything is pretty handy, and it works pretty well. So this I decided to show, but obviously if you don't have hardware, there's no point to put it. And this is how all your MIDI things with track, if you want to sync track, remote MP stuff. This really depends what you have. File and folders, I let the create analysis files on. I never really try, to be honest, to be off, but it's supposedly supposed to make you gain some time. When you click on sample, it loads faster. Don't have sample editor. Enable similarity search analysis. Yeah, this is the new stuff from live, which is pretty interesting. So I put yes. Yeah, then pretty much done here. Library, collect file on export always. This is great because every time you export, it's gonna collect and save all the files. I don't know if it was this before on Live 11. I'm not sure. I don't think it was, but it's great because now for sure you're not gonna lose any track. So that's a pretty great thing. Show down number on. Show cloud. I'm not using cloud because I think it's for the Note application, so I don't need. Show push, yes, because I have push. This depends what you have or what you don't. And then you can look at your user library and installation folder for part. This is up to you. I think it's the default, I think. Okay, then plugin. This depends if you want audio you need. Scan the plugin. That's how it's set. Then you have record, warp, and launch. I record in wave, 24-bit depth, exclusive, ARM and solo, no counting. Record session automation in ARM track or ARM track. This I leave to ARM track, even though sometimes I have MIDI controller, but yeah, I prefer to record one by one. That sounds perfect record. The warp mode, I leave more than how it was by default. Same with the launch. Everything stays the same, and then it's just license and update. I decided this time to don't do the automatic update. I just wanted to see how it is, but honestly it starts bothering me to have the stuff down, so I might switch back to always get the automatic update. Alright, so before to talk about the template itself, we need to talk about the new browser and how you can organize things. So you had the collection as for before, where you can like kind of tag certain things with the color. For example, I like to do that for all my rack. I have a lot of racks. For example, here what I've done is I tag all of my favorite drum kits. So for example, when you go to drum here, all my favorite kits, I just tag them in this way that when I need drums, I can just go there and pick it up one from there. But I use mainly for all my rack I create as well. For example, bass and synth is all the rack, either audio rack or instrument rack, with my synth, all Ableton stuff. I have all my favorite, which is kind of the one I use the most, or can be as well often the new one, or the one that who are like work in progress. I put them here. And you also have like the hardware, like for all my external hardware. For example, I wanna use my Cloudburst audio pedal. I can just drag and drop, and the routing is done, everything is done, and I can just send something to the pedal and it works straight up. So this is pretty handy. Instead of having all your hardware track pre-made, I kind of have them here ready to be used and very quickly accessible. I can just like click here and I have everything, and in 2 clicks I have something. So it need a bit of preparation, obviously, because you need to, for example, like I did with the microfig, you're gonna need to set an external instrument. Here it's not plugged, my microfig. That's why you don't have the MIDI 2 set properly. But if I turn it on, you see it's automatically on the Audioreakt microfig. The audio is the good one. So this is some preparing that you need to do before. Here you can see I couple it with CC control and I group everything and then add some macro. So like this, when I load this, everything's done and working straight up. Same for example for the pedal here, I show you. So now you might wonder, why do I have a max for live here? Because you're supposed to have a max for live here as well, usually. And that's another great thing, is you can now remove some of the category don't use. So I removed the max for live. The reason being that here, basically, when you click there, it's like all your max for live device. And like with the plugin list, it's like all the list. And it's very hard to kind of find what you want. For example, if you just know you want a sequencer, you have to go there and then look in the list, the sequencer you want to. And like the sequencer is like, all your sequencer are like in the middle of a lot of device, and it's kind of a little bit annoying to pick it up or find one. That's why you're gonna see, we're gonna talk about it in a bit. I created this tag here, and for example, if I want a sequencer, I go here and here I have all my sequencer already. So I didn't really need it anymore, this. So that's why I hide it. Same, the sound is like, I never use the sample or the sound from Ableton. Or if really I want something, I can still go in all and make a research if I need something. Same, I remove the clip sample because I never use groove as well. I use it in the clip straight up, but never like grabbing from here. So this is all of the thing I remove, and you can see that there is some personal stuff here that I'm gonna talk about it right now. For example, here I have the plugin list where you have the whole plugin, and can be like a pain in the ass to look for the plugin you want, especially in a list like this. Now the great thing is you can, with the new browser, you can kind of categorize everything. So you can create categories, which is called tag. I mean, that's how I use the tag actually. And all these categories, you can group them, for example, because if you want, if they are your own default. So for example, me, I create a group which is called Audioreakt, and I have different tags which are categories. So for example, I will have VST for mastering. So all the VST that I found great for mastering, for example, this device, I will click here and it will be in the mastering category. Now, the great things about that is that you can put this category here. You can see this category can appear straight away here. And the way to do that is you go to your filter, and you see you have this mastering category, but you can press plus here and it will add your category there. And then you will have straight up your category that appear here. So here what I've done is like all the plugins that I thought were great for mastering, I tagged them like this. And now when I go straight up here, I have all the list of the plugin I found great for mastering. And I did the same with color, everything which I think the VST are good to add some color, some EQ or saturation mainly, they are grouped here. I say VST, but it can also be max for live device. For example, I have the color limiter here. And then it's up to you how you want to organize things. You see, for example, I create a category which is called quirky, which is gonna be all of the VST and max for live, which are kind of different than the Ableton default one. So for example, I will have something like the sling filter, which is kind of weird. I will have the crystallizer from Sound Toys, the fractal filter, which is max for live device. All these kind of devices that are a bit different. If one day I'm a bit like uninspired and I want to try something different, I know I have this quirky folder with all of my kind of weird effects or device. Then I have my VST instrument, and this way it's allowed me to really organize everything, and this way I can work really fast. I don't know, I want to use Serum, I know I will go to VST instrument, I can straight up set Serum, and I want a sequencer, I don't want to use the snake sequencer, I can just go there, select that, and this really is gonna allow me to work very fast because I have direct access to everything here. So now obviously you can do your own category really to what's matter for you. This way pretty much all the tools I need, they're directly accessible from here. I don't need to go in the folder or to look for it too long. I just go somewhere, boom, I have a quick list, few things to watch, then drag and drop. So it takes a bit of time to kind of go through all of your VST and to know where you wanna categorize and how you wanna categorize them, but it's super handy. Now I still kept obviously some of the classic like the instrument, the audio effect. So the audio effect, it's a shame because in Live 10 it was like this, the big list, and in Live 11 they put folders and now they put back the long list, which I understand because of the filter and the tag. I tried to copy the folder name from Ableton Live 11 and I kind of created tag, and so this way I can have the kind of same feeling than, you know, if I want a reverb I go there, but it's kind of annoying me, and I think I will on the end just go back to get used to the workflow like before with the whole list and just like scroll quickly. To be honest, I'm rarely using all the filter and everything. It's always most of the time closed. It's great that we can keep it closed, and the great thing is that it's saved by category. So for example, Midi is gonna be always closed because I don't need, but the audio effect I want to keep it open for now because I want to be able to straight up access to the folder style arrangement like it was in Live 11. But yeah, all the other one, they are closed, so it really saves. This is great as well that it saves if the filter is open or no per place. Actually, I don't need the VST anymore because they are all categorized. So I don't really need this one, to be honest. Another things to kind of have direct access is by using place. So this can be like place on your computer, for example, where you sample, you can organize that, where you project, whatever. This is pretty great. I have this one, which is a great idea. It's basically track idea is, for example, you're working, you know, sometimes you're working on a track and you're trying to find a new element, and this new element as well is kind of make you divert from the original track, and it's kind of a new idea. Imagine I'm working on the track and I have this new element I created, but it doesn't fit the track, so I can just like drag and drop here to put it here, and so next time I'm starting a new track and I can go in this track idea and listen to my track idea and see if I can do something with. Alright, so I reckon this is kind of boring and a bit pain in the and a bit annoying to do like the classification and everything, but then it's allowed me to have a very simple and straightforward template, which is not overwhelming. One thing it is important is to know the shortcut to add a new MIDI track or audio track. So MIDI track is Command-Shift-T, and audio track is Command-T or Control-T if you're on Windows. And you can see my audio track come a little bit kind of custom compared to my MIDI track. Is usually what you would get by default, and this one is the one I made by default. And basically most of the time I will always use EQ and utility on my track. So what I will do is on my MIDI track I will make default one more interesting, more personalized, and where I will have my EQ and utility. One thing I will do as well, I will put the default fader at -6. One thing that can be important as well is input output. So for example in the MIDI it's by default on all in. I will personally put at on from push. The reason being that I will most of the time first use the push and anything else, and sometimes if I will have hardware connected with external sequencers, so such as I have the TR6S or the Torso T1, if I put all in, for example, and I have the Torso T1 sequencing something, this track we're gonna get the MIDI from everything, so from the Torso, from the TR6, all in the same time, and it gets very messy. So I prefer to put from push by default, and output I will put my mixdown track. I will explain later why mixdown. And yeah, then you just right click and save a default MIDI track. And now every time you put a new MIDI track, you have all set by default. Then me, I've just put 4 MIDI track because I use mainly MIDI track, but if you use more audio than MIDI, just put more audio MIDI track than, I wouldn't put too many, just a few just to get you started, and then you can use the shortcut to quickly get started. But I don't put too many because I like to start with a black canvas which is not too crowded and that doesn't overwhelm me. I don't know, I just feel more free if I can add things like this than if I have everything pre-made from the beginning. You can see I just have like one return effect, which is kind of a washout effect. I had this before. It's basically like a big reverb, and I use this for SFX. I've made this track. I will put it in the description if you want. And yeah, I usually send element and it creates a long reverb tail. It's helpful for transition. I'm someone that usually put reverb and delay in inserts, so I don't use them as return, but obviously if you use reverb and delay as with return, you can put your return with reverb and delay. Now let's talk about this Mixdown and Master FX. You might wonder why I have this track. So basically why I have Mixdown, Master FX, washout and main, they are all kind of related. Basically all my track, I will send them to the Mixdown, which is basically my mix. Now, like I said, sometimes I like to use this washout return effect to kind of send element to it to create this kind of noisy FX transition. But sometimes I like to send my whole mix. So instead of sending all individual track in the same time, I can just send this Mixdown track to this washout. So it sends the whole mix to the washout. And then I have two signals, my Mixdown and my washout, that could go in the main. You see, by default, I could do that. This go in the main, the washout go in the main, and it goes there. Now I like also to have some master SFX such as the low cut, my rather effect, the beat repeat like scatter effect, kind of weird SFX on the master. But why I don't put them on this main out on this master track is because I like to keep this one as empty as possible, don't put nothing, or just to keep it for mastering purpose. So this way I need to create a master FX. So basically this master FX track I created is just kind of a copy of this one where I'm gonna put my FX. So basically the way it's working is I have my mix down here, which is going into the master FX, but I can also send some of this on this return. This return is also going on the master SFX. And on the master SFX, I have obviously my master SFX. So this way, the mixdown and the return are processed by this effect. And then I send this into the master because I want to have a master for sound design SFX and a master for mastering. It's a bit tricky to understand, it's a bit weird way I reckon, but that's how I like to work. When I do educational content as well, it's easier as well to understand that this master is just for sound design SFX and this master is for mastering effect, because I could put like the master sound design SFX and the mastering effect on the same master track, on this same main track, but it would then get very confused because you don't really know which one is which one. And to be more clear and to have things more clear and easy to understand, it was easier for me to separate that. The only thing I will put on this, I will put a limiter, but I'm not putting a limiter in order to squash everything. It's just because I like to do sound design to experiment, to work with very resonant sound or to feedback, and these kind of things can get way out of hand very quickly, and in order to don't blow up my ears or my speakers, I use the limiter, so if things goes crazy, this catch everything and I don't destroy anything. So that's why I put that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So the template as itself is kind of basic, but it's the way everything is organized around it that is important, and that I wanted to show you today, because you can organize it the way you want as well with the things you like to use, and this way you can start with a black canvas all the time and quickly grab the things that you need, and everything goes fast and just flow perfectly. Hope you like this video. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon. Bye.